Hello everyone and welcome to the Atelier Nekozuki podcast. This is episode 69 and today is March 27th, 2019. Thanks so much for any new and returning viewers. Thanks if you're checking me out for the first time, and thanks if you're coming back. I appreciate it. I actually have quite a bit of knitting to talk about this week. I didn't end up putting as much work into the secret project as I thought I was going to this week. I should still be able to get most of it done by the beginning of April like I hoped last week, but honestly, it'll happen. It's not like it's going to grow legs and walk off anywhere, that's for damn sure. Yeah, so instead I got a few things actually finished up, which is super exciting. And I've got a story for you about the socks. So let's actually just get right into it there. Oh, and just as a heads up for everyone too, if you're not following me on social media, you certainly can come find me. I'm Atelier Nekozuki most locations, and I think I'm still Nekozuki Knits on Ravelry. So you can find me both ways there. So I chatted last week about the socks, the couples pair that I had knit for Dallas and I, and how one sock was actually longer than the other sock. So I did actually get him to try them on, simply because I did actually want to wear them together. So it's like, if I don't, like they're not going to fit and they're not going to be comfortable. So I did get him to try them on last week, pretty much right after the podcast actually. And it turns out that actually this one here, I count this as the pink sock, actually was the right size, and the teal sock with the yellow in it was the wrong size. So what I ended up doing is, and it was actually the wrong size by about a good ½ inch. So when I showed them to you last week, when you line them up, like this one was about that much longer. Now they're the same length. What I did is I basically did an afterthought fix, because I didn't have to cut it and knit more. I didn't really want to have to go through and like knit the decreases. Plus these were toe up, so I don't know how much that would like change anything, but I just didn't want to have to do more knitting. So what I ended up doing is I cut right about here, and then I Kitchener stitched the toe back on after I pulled out 10 rows. So yeah, like a good at least an inch of work. And then I Kitchener stitched it around, and basically you can't even tell, like I can feel it, but you can't tell that I did it. Or at least like not any more than a few warbly stitches, which are going to happen anyway. These have also been worn, so they need to be washed and blocked now. So yeah, I'm actually quite happy with that. Now the cuff, as I've said before, usually is matched up to the foot. So that does mean I did not go in and change the cuff. So it's like a few rows difference, whatever. Just because there wasn't that much difference between the two of them, and I didn't want to have to also like do the same Kitchener stitch in here, on the cuff of the yellow one, because I'm lazy and it's close enough. So the other thing I did notice, these are like the socks of mistakes. It's insane. These socks are only 64 stitches. Dallas's socks are supposed to be 72 stitch socks. So I don't know what I was doing on these socks. It's also taught me some important lessons for future socks if I'm going to do these mismatching couples pairs. It means I will knit, rather than knitting adjacent pairs of like my sock and his sock, I will just knit his socks from the two different balls of yarn that I'm going to use, and then I'll knit my socks from the two different balls of yarn that I've used, and or vice versa, whichever comes first, simply because then there's not quite so many like just odd mistakes. Like I don't think I've ever knit him a pair of socks that are 64 stitches. They fit, so I'm like, maybe I do need to knit them. They would be a lot faster, but I feel like my socks are so much smaller than his. I don't actually know. Anyway, that was one of the projects that I wanted to chat about. Those are knit out of Regia Flormania. It's discontinued as far as I can tell. It's stash yarn. I've had it for years, so sorry. You might be able to find it on Destash. And those are knit on, all my socks right now are knit on US 1 2.25 millimeter needles when they are fingering weight socks. So I also, speaking of socks, got the Gauge Dye Works socks done. I was discussing that I just wanted to do anklet socks. I wasn't quite sure, and then I just went, no, I'm done. I just want these finished. They've been sitting around too long. And I actually really like wool ankle socks in the summertime because I know it's Canada and full length socks are useful, but I can wear these in like Converse and stuff in the summertime, have way comfier feet, and not have a wool sock up my leg. So that's my justification, and that's what I'm sticking to. These were supposed to be full length socks. They are knit toe up. Again, US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. They are short row heels because that's what I find fits me the best. I have a fairly high instep, so I do like having short row heels. And then basically I just knit, excuse me, I knit the cuff, the ankle cuff, and then I did about 8 rows of 2x2 rib, basically until I ran out of yarn, which is funny. One sock doesn't have that little blip and one sock does. I must have cast on it just a slightly different spot here. Anyway, I'm excited about those. They also need to have a little bit of a block, but they'll be comfy. I've got one other pair of wool ankle socks like that I've knit, and I love them. They're out of Opal. So I also love how that heel worked, that it was like basically perfectly half. Makes me so happy when it works out like that because it looks like I planned it, and I totally did not. But so that's Gauge Dye Works. As far as I know, it's the pink light colorway. And again, US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. I knit most of my socks 2 at a time. Not always, it depends. But generally 2 at a time because then I don't get second sock syndrome. Magic loop as well. And I use Chiagu needles, the Chiagu reds. There. Just kind of start the wash pile. Then the other finish I had is I finished my Pompidou shawl, which I love. I wore this all weekend because I finished it on, I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, but I finished it this week. I was literally, like I said, like 2 hours, maybe max, worth of work when I recorded the podcast last week. So I love it. It's so long. It's actually like wider than my wingspan, or pretty darn close to wider than my wingspan. Yeah, just barely, like 2 to 3 inches. So that means that's about a 72-inch width. It's a nice depth. It's easy to wear as like how I like to wear my shawls generally. It's a little bit I swear I'm not trying to choke myself. Okay, well I'll keep talking while I'm futzing around with the ends here. There we go. It's a nice size. It's a little bit larger than a shawlette. But like, yeah, nice and cozy and the right like width, or depth, I guess, not width. I guess it kind of works both ways. But it's knit out of King Fiber Arts in the underwater colorway. That's the solid one. It's their singles. Picked it up at Knit City in the fall, so I'm using Knit City yarn, which is awesome because most of the time that's my major stash enhancement days, and it doesn't always get used in the year. And then the lighter bits here are from Stash Needle Art Lounge in Calgary. It's Hedgehog Fibers in their Silk Mohair Budgie colorway. And I love it, and it's squishy and soft, and it's good spring knit. So I'm going to leave it on for a little bit now until I get too warm. The mohair I'm finding is actually like way warmer than the wool, and I think with the silk too, it like makes it really warm. But I really like it. I was originally hesitant because I thought there would be a bigger prickle factor because of the halo on the mohair, but I haven't noticed anything. I didn't notice anything when I was knitting, so I wasn't actually that worried once I like was knitting the project. It was pre-project concerns in some ways, not like I didn't just like buy the mohair silk and then cast on. All right, and then true to my word, because I finished some whips, I picked up some whips as well. Let me get it untangled here. I'm sorry if I seem a bit distracted. It's because I am. Flynn is in his time period of social maturity, which means that there's some totem pole henpecking happening between him and Dahlia, so I'm just keeping an eye on them to make sure that it doesn't go beyond what it should. Right now they're fine, but I picked up, these are just vanilla socks, again, US 1, 2.25 millimeter needles, Chiago Reds. This is Crazy Dog Yarns in one of the rainbow colorways. And I cast on and started the second sock, finally, after, I think this is the 3rd year. I'm going like 2.5 years since I started the first one. So, as per my holding to what I said I would do, I've picked up a whip instead of casting something on. And I'm enjoying it. It's actually knitting up really fast. I don't remember the first one knitting up this fast. Basically, I cast on and I think I was about here. Yeah, I was just starting the red stripe last night, which means I wasn't even through increases yet. And then we sat down and watched, we're watching Blue Planet 2 actually right now. So that's how much I got knit in about 2 episodes of Blue Planet and some anime. Really happy with it. Yay! So there we go. So that's about, I need 5 green stripes before the ribbing on these ones. And then what I did is I just went through and I did another repeat of the color basically. So I need, yeah, almost halfway actually, because that's the 2nd green stripe. So that means that I need 3 more green stripes and then I'll go to the ribbing. And then this progress keeper is actually marking where I need to put my heel. Now I'm going to double check that before I actually add it in. But yeah, so I stuck to the same, very similar proportions here of like cuff is the same length as the foot. So I'm foreseeing that these should be pretty darn close to being done actually by next week if I can like crack on like I did with these. So there's that. And then finally, I re-picked up a sweater project. And of course everything is tangled up, even in project bags, goodness. Well, not that this one's fully in this project bag right now, but we'll deal with it. So this is actually being held in one of my knot bags. You've seen this before, but it's being held in one of my knot bags. 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn, nicely settled in here. And what I picked up was my Hirofude. So this is being knit out of Madeline Tosh Merino Light so that's their singles base, in Coquette. The progress keeper here is where I was when I picked it back up earlier this week as well. So basically I was a quarter of the way through the arm and now I am halfway through the arm, the sleeves, because I need to knit 14 repeats and I just finished the 7th. I made sure I finished the 7th before I started recording the podcast because I was like, I want to show that I'm halfway through the arms, which means I'm also going to move my progress keeper up here. That means it'll actually be more stable too. It's not like right on the edge. There we go. So that's 7 repeats. And I was looking at how long the body actually is, and it's only 64 repeats, like 64 rows total. So I might actually end up adding just a little bit of length on the bottom because that means that's 14 inches, which in most cardigans means that it hits my high hip. Now, that's not the worst thing because it would look really cute over dresses. So I'm actually, probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit it all, then try it on, because what ends up happening is like with the construction is I'll be able to try it on and see where I want the length actually to be, even if I only add an extra half repeat maybe, like another 8 rows. I don't know, we'll see once I get there. I am doing, oh, sorry, and this is knit on Chiago. This is actually their fixed circulars before the lace. And this is actually what sold me on Chiago's originally, was this bend in the needle. Because of how I hold my needles, it's a lot more ergonomic for my hand. Because I find that I end up breaking a lot of needles. I still break these guys too, but not as rapidly. I am knitting this on a US 5 3.75 millimeter needle. I think that's what's called for in the pattern. I don't remember. I did gauge swatch because I want to, like, I at least did one of the repeats just to see how it opened up and bloomed to make sure that I would get gauge. Because with lace, like, it's actually not too bad here, but it's going to open up and look a lot better once it gets blocked too. So that's the other thing, is like this right now does fit my, like, it fits the halfway point of my upper arm like it's supposed to and everything like that. I tried it earlier. I'm not going to futz around with that on camera right now. But it's also going to grow a bit so that it'll have a nice drape in the arm here too. And obviously it definitely needs to grow in wingspan, because right now it will barely go over my back basically. So it's going to be like, if it were to stay like this, it would be a very short sleeve. No, that's about right, because I think it's supposed to hit about here. Upper arm to just below the elbow. Anyway, I'm excited. I have been challenged to make sure that I get this done by October for a trip to Disney. So at the pace that I'm going right now, I think I'll be able to do it. I just got to focus on it. So that's why I'm going to hopefully try and get through at least another quarter of the sleeve this week, and then if not the rest of the half, so that I have the sleeves at least done. In the next 2 weeks I want the sleeves done. So that's why I'm going to focus on this, and the socks will be a focus while I'm watching TV and stuff like that. And just say, yeah, you can see this magic loop. Yeah, because I do actually really want this for summer. I want this for Disney World. We've got a couple summer weddings coming up, and this would actually be really cute for those. And although it's wool, it'd probably be decent, at least for the evenings when it cools down sort of thing. So really like how the wall's actually showing off that lace pattern quite nicely back here. So, and the other nice thing about this is I am not a very good lace knitter. But this pattern is easy enough that like I'm able to tell where I make mistakes, and I'm able to actually fix them without having to generally go back all the way. I have definitely screwed it up bigger at least once, but honestly I was able to fudge it well enough that you can't tell. So it's like, I don't even know where I did it anymore, so honestly it doesn't matter. So yeah, those are the current whips and the faux. I'm so happy to have stuff done, especially this, because like this is the perfect time of year to actually wear this. Yeah, and that kind of leads into, well, I've got a few shenanigans to talk about. I've got some reading and anime to talk about. And then I've actually got some shop news because there's some stuff happening there too. Oh, and I did finally get the buttons sewn on my Tinder cardigan. Now, which I'm going to go into a little bit of a rant here, and then we'll go into those other things. It's the last knitting thing. I sewed them on, and the sweater was knit to my size. It fits through the shoulders, it fits through the bust, until it gets buttoned, guys. So I don't know what I did when I sewed the buttons on, if I screwed it up, but it's gappy in here, same as what you would normally get with a button-down shirt. So I don't know what I should do. I don't know if... Sound off in the comments and let me know, because I would actually really like some help on this. I don't know if I need to take the buttons off and re-sew them on. I really don't want to do that if I can avoid it. I don't know what it is about me and sewing on buttons, but I hate doing it. It's like that last finishing step that needs to be done, but ugh. I actually haven't woven in a lot of ends on this cardigan even, because they're all kind of tucked in. I've also got a hole I need to fix in it because of pickups. Anyway, those are things you can't see, so it doesn't matter. But buttons, when you button it up, it shouldn't gap. So I'm wondering if I need to stabilize the buttons, which means that I could run like a grosgrain ribbon down the back, or if I should just sew a small button on here in between the two buttons that have the worst gap. And because it's loose enough, it'll, like, I can just put a tiny little button and then button through a non-hole, basically. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I really do like the buttons on this. I also got these from Stash. They're mother of pearl. So then really iridescent, which of course you can't really see because it's like, it's an iPhone. But yeah, it's really annoying that it's gapped. I also realized that it does actually limit the usability of the sweater a little bit, because I was wearing it to like my gentler yoga, and now with the buttons, I don't think I want to lay on it on the floor, partly because I don't want to break them, and partly because I don't want them like pressing into me while I'm doing yoga. So yeah, I still really love this sweater, so I wanted the buttons on it so that it was, because I find that I do end up pulling it just across me quite a bit, so that's why I wanted the buttons on it. And I did technically knit buttonholes in it, so I should put buttons on it eventually, which I did. Anyway, that's one of my annoyances this week with buttons. But let me know if you have a solution that's worked for you in the past, because honestly, I have this problem on quite a few of my sweaters. They're knit perfectly for my size. They should fit in all technicalities, but then they gap or they curl as well. And I have a feeling the curl is a little bit to do with the bind off on this side. I do use a stretchy bind off. Maybe I need to use a firmer bind off. I'm not 100% sure. But the gapping on this from this shouldn't be there. It's super annoying. So yeah. Anyway, let's go into shenanigans. It was actually our 10th dating anniversary this past weekend. So Dallas and I have been together for 10 years, guys, which is insane. When we told that to someone this weekend, Dallas kind of looked at me and he's like, it doesn't feel like 10 years. And I'm like, no, it's insane to think that's been a decade. But we went out for a nice dinner in Banff, out to the hot springs in Radium, which was really nice. And then actually a couple nights out at the Kananaskis Lodge, which was interesting. I don't want to complain about something that, like, it wasn't anything that Dallas did that was wrong, but there was something off at the lodge. We couldn't tell what it was. It was like, it felt like everyone was super frazzled or something like that, like, and there was just mistakes happening, like, and really nothing major, but just kind of like lapses. So we ended up, we went down for dinner one night and like we ordered poutine, and it took 45 minutes to an hour to get it. Now the waitress comped us the poutine, which is awesome. I wasn't expecting her to do that or anything like that, but it's just like it took really long. And then we ordered room service that night at like 9:30 or 9:45, and it still hadn't arrived by 11 o'clock. So we called down and we're just like, we need to cancel the order because we're going to bed actually. And it sounded like they hadn't even started it, which is, I think, it felt like, because we left yesterday, Tuesday, it felt like there was a big crew change actually yesterday morning. So I have a feeling it was really busy, and it just like, I have a feeling that we're also coming up to the end of a lot of contracts for people working in the ski industry right now. And then I think it was just a really busy week. So there's a lot of kids around too. It's spring break for a lot of the school districts around here, or at least one of them. So yeah, I think it was just a bunch of a combination of a bunch of things, but it was just kind of like caught us a little bit off guard, because this lodge is like one of the premier lodges in the Rockies. It's really nice. It's a really nice location, but it just yeah, everyone was a little bit frazzled. So I hope it gets better for everyone who's working there, because honestly the service industry can be very interesting. I worked in visitor information for 5 summers, and I remember being like, especially when you're busy, it's just like breakneck speeds sometimes and you just can't catch up. There's no way. So yeah, I hope it gets better, but it was good for once, but I don't think we'll be going back. Now if someone asked me if they should go stay there, I would say yeah, go and stay for like 1 or 2 nights sort of thing, because it is a nice area. Just make sure to, like, for us, we're not very good staycation people really, so we needed to plan some things to actually do. So yeah, if you're one of these people who likes to go do things, make sure you plan stuff. There's a ski hill there. I don't really ski. Dallas hasn't skied this year. So there would have been that. And there's actually a spa and stuff there too. We did go out and enjoy their hot tub and like cold pool, which was really nice. So yeah, it was good all around, just frazzled service, which happens. So It's not really a complaint, it's just an observation, I guess. Or at least I'm not making it, I'm trying not to couch it as a complaint, because it really isn't. I get it. Yeah, so that was good. We ended up going out to Chuck's Steakhouse in Banff, which was also really good. We ended up actually having Wagyu steak. I didn't realize that Alberta has had Japanese cows since 1993. So the Wagyu is actually raised in the Japanese style in Alberta, which means that they've been here like 26 years. And it was good. It's really different from actual Alberta beef. It was kind of insane. Although I'm really glad that we split it because it's so rich. It was like really heavy. And to be quite honest, I really enjoyed the steak, but their cheesecake was the best thing of that whole meal. Dallas loves cheesecake, and I like cheesecake, but I'm kind of hesitant about it because there's only so many things you can do to cheesecake to make it stand out. And whatever they did it right here. It was delicious. So, yeah, so we had that and the hot springs, which of course are always nice. Radium Hot Springs is really nice. It's still a commercial industry, so it's still a developed pool, but it's set into like a split in the rocks, and you've got like the Red Rock Fault, which is this big fault that has been raised and is different from the rock around it because it's very iron rich, so it's rusted basically, so it's red rock. And so yeah, so the hot springs are kind of set down underneath this red rock fault, and there's like this stone wall across from you, and it feels really nice compared to a lot of the developed hot springs in BC and Alberta. It feels more natural than a lot of the other ones, because like Banff is nice, but it's set in some trees and it's definitely a pool and it's always really busy. Fairmont Hot Springs, I find the same. It feels really developed and not natural at all. Basically, like, I know it's natural hot spring water, but I feel like they're just piping in bath water. So I haven't actually gone to Fairmont Hot Springs in a really long time. Like, we got married there, but we didn't actually go into the hot springs. Their facilities were nicer than the stuff I found in Radium, at least for what we wanted, with like mountain views and stuff like that. But yeah, we didn't actually go in the hot springs. So anyway, but I prefer Radium Hot Springs because it does actually still feel, even though it's a pool, like you're sitting out in like a little bit more of a wilderness hot springs. What else happened this week? Dallas is studying for an exam, so he actually took a week off. He's home right now, except that he's actually in the city studying for an exam on Monday. And then hopefully next weekend, or next week, once that's all done, we'll be able to go through and do a few more adventures. Obviously the weather had turned, but it's still March, so we're actually getting snow right now. Not very much, but it's like that heavy spring snow. So hopefully what it does is it snows. We need it. It'll be good for the ground, moisture and all of that. And honestly, it's not the worst thing to happen right now because it will feel more like we need to stay inside. There's a few things I need to do inside. Mostly for the super secret project. I know I keep teasing you guys about that. I'm sorry. I'm being really slow. But there's that, and also just, well, to make sure that Dallas stays motivated studying, and so that like I get a few things done inside, like some knitting too. And then hopefully, I think it's supposed to warm up next week, and what I want to do is I want to get out and clean up our swale at the back of our yard, which is the culvert that they've put in at the back of our development for like the water, so that when it drains off, it doesn't drain into our house, it drains off and out instead of into the basement. So that needs to be cleaned though, and I want to like clean up my peony beds and get them some compost. I know it's still frosty, so it's not like I can plant anything, but if I get it all prepped, then when it is planting time, I can just do it. So like one of the areas I want to plant morning glories and sweet peas, because it's our back fence, so I'm going to clean up. There's a little patch of ground between our fence and our swale, it's probably only about 4 inches wide. It's kind of useless. I don't really want to put grass there because it'll be a pain to cut. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to basically dig it up, so because it's kind of got like grass and stuff in it, and I want to dig it up and turn it over and put some compost in it, because the dirt's okay here, but it's not amazing. And then I want to plant the sweet peas and morning glories back there, because I can put netting up our fence, and then I can train the morning glories and the sweet peas up the fence. At least that's the plan. I think there's enough sunlight back there generally during the day. Like, it's a nice blend that they get mostly sun, but not in the morning. So we'll try it and see. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work this year, and I'll plant something else there next year. Because I'm only going to do annual sweet peas because they smell better. It's totally a vanity garden. There's no use to it. So it's like, I might as well put stuff in there I enjoy. I also really enjoy cut sweet peas, so that's most of the reason to do it. If it doesn't work back there this year, then maybe what I'll do next year is I will plant, excuse me, container peonies, because I think sweet peas, peonies are in the ground. The sweet peas, I think I can get varieties that will actually grow well in containers, at least from what I've done for research. So that's the plan right now for outside. We've got to do a little bit more landscaping this summer as well. So I kind of want to get as much inside work done now. Well, it's still kind of outside, or now that's turned back to outside. So that then this summer we can concentrate more on the outside, because we've also been in the house for 3 years and we're finally getting settled, which is amazing. I'm loving it. Yeah, so that's kind of the future plans for like life, a garden, and yeah, house tidy. We need to definitely do, this year we need to do a spring clean of a purge. We've got far too many mugs in our cupboard, so we need to do a mug cull and a glass cull. Like, we do not need to own 36 wine glasses. So there's some stuff, like, and we still have some stuff from when we were students, and we just, some stuff we don't use and like got moved and or gifted, and we don't want it anymore. So it's just, it's time to purge it. So that'll be part of the spring clean this year. And then, yeah, that's really all that we've been doing. Oh, we have been watching, oh, okay, actually, anime. We did finish Made in Abyss. I still don't know what it is. I enjoyed it, but I'm like, and it feels like it finished halfway. So it feels like there's more stuff happening in the manga, because the manga is still ongoing. And I do appreciate the fact that they didn't just go off and change the ending. I feel like that is one of the big shifts that has happened in the anime industry, at least in the last like 10 years, is that they'll actually stop a series of anime and then go back and finish it once the true ending from the manga is done, which is amazing. Because the thing about it is that it's like, there are so many anime that I watched originally, like as a child, that they didn't do that, and then you end up with this whole story arc that just absolutely doesn't make sense, or like has to be redacted or whatever. The worst culprit for this is Full Metal Alchemist. They like went completely off the tracks with the anime, and like, yes, it's got its own merits, but ugh. And then they had to go back and they did Brotherhood instead. So then you have to go through and rewatch some very traumatic events from the first, like the manga and the first series, because of course they didn't just go back and like restart it from a certain point. They went back and restarted it from the beginning. Oh, Full Metal. Anyway, if you have not watched Full Metal Alchemist but you want to watch it, just go to Brotherhood, because that's the one that actually finishes correctly as per according to the manga, which is what the author intended. So anyway, so I think what's ended up happening is that we've hit a point where the anime caught up with the manga, and then they're waiting for the manga to end. I don't actually know, but it definitely didn't, the anime did not end at the end point. for Made in Abyss. And then we're actually watching Recreators right now. I think we'll probably end up finishing it tomorrow. It's only 12 episodes, so we finished 7 yesterday. Really enjoying it. Way more up my alley, and I think up Dallas's too. Really good soundtrack, really cool animation, like really well done. And it's really awesome and like rewarding if you've watched anime consistently, or even if you haven't, because it's got like all these different genres that pop up, and they're pulling from a bunch of different genres, so it's really fun. I'm really enjoying it, and so far it's got a really compelling story too, so yeah, really like that. What else? Oh yeah, and then we're still watching all the other ones. Slime looks like it probably finished, and I think that that's operating under the same thing of, it feels like it's not finished, but they finished the season in accordance with what was available in the manga so far. So I have a feeling that it might have another season. I'm not sure. I know we are heading into like the half seasons finishing or finished. So spring season should be starting, because yeah, anime generally is either a 12 to 13 episode run or a sometimes 24 to 26. So Slime's gonna have 26 total, I think, or 25, but somewhere in there. And so I kind of count it as like half seasons, because I don't watch a lot of North American shows anymore, guys, but I think North American shows are typically a run of 22 episodes, whether they're half hour or hour long. So I count Japanese like anime as like half seasons, and it seems like that's what they end up doing. So like we had a new season start in the fall, and then we'll have a new spring season here now, kind of over the summer. They seem to kind of start with the cherry blossoms, which makes sense. That's spring in Japan. And then yeah, and then you get the longer seasons that go over, and then you get the these shorter half seasons or half series. Yeah, I guess you guys really didn't need to know that, but anyway, we're at the end of most of our like half season series. Actually, I wonder, there's some of them that I'm curious if they're going to continue or not. Like My Roommate is a Cat totally feels like it's going to continue. It's not, like, it doesn't really have an arc, but it kind of has an arc, and it doesn't feel like it's even at the halfway point of it, really. So although there's been changes, which is good, and I'm really enjoying that show. So what else? I finished Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, and I have started The Kingdom of Ash. I feel like Kingdom of Ash is going to take a longer time to listen to. There are certain characters that I really do not like in Kingdom of Ash. I'm not going to go into details here in case you've never read the series, but yeah, there's some of them that I'm just like, you turned into an absolute jerk for absolutely no reason, realistically. I guess I could understand some of it, but it's just, ugh. Yeah, so it's gonna, and the thing is that they end up being like one of the main focuses because of circumstances. So it's also, of course, it's also the like climax of the series and everything like that. So it's just kind of like, it's got the whole build up, and it's going to be a bit of a slog for me, at least. Although I did end up listening to Tower of Dawn quite a bit while I was running, which was really good. I don't think I'll end up doing that with Kingdom of Ash, because I ended up finding finally a playlist. I think that'll work for my running, so that I'm running at a good beats per minute. I guess that is the other thing I've been doing, is because it's been nice outside, I've been going running outside. I've got spin the next couple of days, so I don't generally run on spin days, simply because that's a lot of energy out. And so I'll be going back on Friday, if it's nice. If it's not nice, then I'll just run downstairs on the treadmill, although I do not want to. So even if as long as the snow's cleared off the pass, or it's not icy. Snow's fine, ice is not. Yeah, I'll be back outside to run. And reading, anime. I think the only thing left is shop update. And given that this is nearly a 40-minute podcast, I've apparently had a lot of content for this week. But shop news, the exciting thing is that after much consideration and some research and debate and emails out to wholesalers, I am reducing prices on my project bags, mostly due to market constraints currently. So all my project bags will be going down by $10 across the board, and needle stashers and notions pouches will be going down by $5 Canadian. Now, hopefully this helps. I know that shipping costs have skyrocketed this year with Canada Post. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about that. I do offer free shipping on orders over a certain dollar amount, so that is on top of the website. Make sure to take a look at that. But I'm hoping that the drop in prices for the bags, it will bring me more in line with my market, and I hope that it'll help absorb some of the costs of shipping as well, because honestly it is really killer, because obviously I have to still pay it out. Like, I'm only charging it because I have to pay it. Unfortunately, I really wish that, yeah, it's insane sometimes, like absolutely insane how much it costs, especially to ship packages within Canada. Like for me out east, it's more expensive. It's typically double the cost to ship from me to Ontario than me to ship anywhere in the States, which is to me absolutely insane. So there are some things coming up that hopefully I'll be able to also reduce shipping. I have absolutely no guarantees on that, so hang tight on that. But I will be reducing the project bag costs. That will be happening over the next few days. It's quite a bit of work just simply because of all the separate listings. But yeah, it will be going into effect, guys, at least by this weekend. So I want to give you a heads up about that. If you want to know exactly when it's all live, subscribe to the newsletter. The easiest way to do that is actually to go to ateliernekozuki.com, scroll down to the bottom, and then you can subscribe to the email. There's a little box down at the bottom that asks for your email. Emails do not go out on a consistent schedule right now. I typically try to do one per month. It definitely there have not been 3 that have been sent out this year for the public. So make sure that you sign up, because that is a way that I do announce a lot of sales. I announce like events. I try to keep people apprised. Obviously the podcast is a big way for me to do that, but I know that emails are also nice to receive if you don't have the time to watch this, or you just don't want to have to sit and watch my face for 45 minutes, which I do not blame you for. This is not a high budget podcast, that's for darn sure. And yeah, so the email newsletters, if you're looking for shop news, that is the place to focus. That's all that ever goes out in it. The podcast is obviously more personal and like the maker behind Atelier Nekozuki instead of like shop news. So yeah, but I'll be getting prices updated in the next few days. I will send out an email newsletter, and I'll make announcements across all social media platforms except for YouTube, because I'm posting obviously every Wednesday instead. So yeah, I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. I will try to get knitting done so that I have more content again next week, same as this week. And I will chat with you soon. Thanks so much and have a happy crafting week, guys. Bye.